Swing and a line drive, ripped right field, back, gone! Leadoff homer, Shohei Ohtani.
A dirty dozen for Schlittler as Gonzalez is gone.
First pitch swinging from the into center. Pete Crow Armstrong on a 3-hit day. Makes the catch. The Chicago Cubs are going to head up 94. They move on to Milwaukee and the National League Division Series.
There's a good argument that the 2025 MLB wildcard round was the best wildcard round in a really long time. A team that made the biggest comeback in baseball history got bounced in the first round. The Cincinnati Reds led a playoff game for the first time in over a decade, and the San Diego Padres, a team that went all in at the trade deadline, lost in the first round. Not only that, but we have some of the best postseason matchups to look forward to in the divisional round, with the Dodgers versus the Phillies and the Blue Jays and the Yankees. But we'll get into that later, because how on earth did the Detroit Tigers choke a 15.5 game lead in the AL Central but still somehow beat their division rival in the wild card round? You heard that right. The Detroit Tigers technically committed the worst choke job in MLB history. On July 8th, the Tigers had the best record in baseball at 59-34. They were 15.5 games ahead of the Cleveland Guardians in the AL Central. 15.5 games. That's a lot. The Guardians' chances of winning the division were literally 0.1% according to Fangraphs. And if you were a betting person, sportsbooks had Detroit at minus 20,000 to win the division in early September, meaning you'd have to risk $20,000 just to win $100 back. The division was over. Well, except the division wasn't over, because from July 9th through the end of the regular season, the Tigers went 28-41. They went 7-17 in September, the worst final month by any playoff team since the World Series began in 1903. And meanwhile, Cleveland caught fire. They won 17 out of 19 games from September 5th to the 24th. And in the final week of the season, the Guardians hosted the Tigers in Progressive Field and beat them in a 3-game series that essentially handed Cleveland the division. The Guardians completed the largest comeback in MLB division history, coming back from 15.5 games down. The previous record was held by the 1914 Boston Braves, but by the time they would face each other in the playoffs, these teams would be completely different. You see, in game 1, Skubal was dominant, striking out 14 hitters through 7 2/3 innings, while his offense only scored 2 runs. Thankfully though, that was all Detroit needed, as they held the Guardians to just 1 run and earning them a game 1 victory. As we know, Cleveland rallied in game 2, scoring 6 runs to earn the equalizing victory, but game 3 was everything but equal. The game was close until the 7th inning, but after that, Detroit scored 4 runs in the top of the frame, and Cleveland's abysmal offense had no chance of rallying. Cleveland's regular season comeback was historic, 100%, don't get me wrong. But come on guys, were we really expecting more from a team that hit 226? Like, come on, that was the second lowest team batting average in the entire Major League Baseball. The Guardians realistically had no chance of beating Detroit in this series unless their pitching staff was lights out. And evidently they weren't. But on the flip side of things, the Los Angeles Dodgers are a team that can overcome their bad pitching, and it was on full display against the Cincinnati Reds. Now, for reference, the Los Angeles Dodgers allowed 9 runs to the Cincinnati Reds in 2 games and somehow still swept them. This isn't new though. The Dodgers bullpen has been a disaster, like genuinely one of the worst situations we've seen from a championship contender in recent memory. Tanner Scott, the guy they gave $72 million to be their closer, has a 4.74 ERA and 10 blown saves. Blake Treinen has a 4.4 ERA with 0.6 negative B WAR, and Kirby Yates is on the injured list at the end of the season with a 5.23 ERA. Like, these 3 guys alone were making a combined $42 million this season, and they were the main reason that the Dodgers had 26 blown saves and a 4.12 bullpen ERA. Now, thankfully, the Dodgers managed to get 13 2/3 innings out of their starters, and the Dodgers' terrible bullpen was minimized, but not before giving the Dodgers faithful a small scare in game 2. Even Dave Roberts admitted he was scared himself.
You know, when you're on the attack, those guys are on their heels with the lead that we have, and when you start being too fine and getting behind, you know, you start giving them free bases, and that's how you can build innings and get momentum.
Ultimately, even though the Dodgers swept the Reds, you have to appreciate what Terry Francona was able to do with this team. He took a roster that was a game game under 500 in mid-September and got them to believe. He made his first playoff appearance with 3 different teams now. Boston in 2004, Cleveland in 2013, and now Cincinnati in 2025. The man is a Hall of Fame manager, and he showed it this season. Unlike the Padres manager, who, if I'm being honest, is probably gonna be on the hot seat. Now, the Padres of the past aren't the Padres of the current. The Padres of the old relied on Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. to bash their way through October. But this time around, it was all about the pitching. San Diego finished the season top 3 in baseball in team ERA and first in bullpen ERA. This team was centered around guys like Mason Miller, Robert Suarez, and the handful of elite bats they acquired at the trade deadline. This Padres team had gone all in, and it was obvious to everyone that this was their last real shot at a World Series trophy. Unfortunately for them though, it didn't end up like that. Game 1 was essentially over after Nick Pivetta allowed 2 runs in the bottom of the 5th. After that, the single run the Padres scored in the 2nd wasn't enough to overcome the Cubbies' elite pitching. Game 2 was the complete opposite as the Padres blanked the Cubs 3-0. But more importantly, I want to highlight Mason Miller's record-breaking heater. During the Padres' combined shutout, Mason Miller threw a dotted 104-mile-an-hour heater to break the record for the fastest pitch thrown in postseason history. Look, I know, Mike Shildt is going to be fired, and AJ Preller is probably gone too. But having a guy like Mason Miller under control for the next few years has to be fun for whoever inherits this team. I mentioned this because Game 3 was an absolute disaster for San Diego. In the 2nd inning of Game 3, Chicago put up 2 runs against Hugh Darvish, and that was pretty much the ballgame. After that, the Friars put up just 1 run as the Cubs won the game 3-1. If this isn't the end of AJ Preller, I don't know what is. Unlike Craig Breslow though, who will keep getting endless opportunities to mess up his job. You see, the Boston Red Sox making the playoffs after trading their best hitter on their team was absurd. Then making the playoffs after your superstar rookie Roman Anthony got hurt was a downright miracle. Game 1 was one of the best rivalry matchups you could have ever watched. Garrett Crochet somehow outdueled Max Fried, and the Red Sox stole the game in the late innings after the Yankees bullpen was exposed, and Aaron Boone had yet again some more managerial questionable decisions. Game 2, however, was one of the best examples of how the Red Sox beat themselves in almost every game. First, Jarren Duran drops an easy lineout. Then Alex Cora's brilliant decision making tells him to keep Garrett Whitlock in the game despite the fact that he's almost 40 pitches deep with 3 lefties due up next. Well, what happens next? The Yankees score a crucial run that would end up deciding the game. After that, Alex Cora decides to put in a lefty, Peyton Tolley, which, let me just say, makes no sense. Why would you keep Garrett Whitlock in with 3 lefties due up when he's 40 pitches deep and he's proven the entire season he can't go multiple innings in relief? Now, I would understand if you had nobody in the bullpen, but Garrett Crochet just went over 7 innings the last game, and you have 3 fresh lefties in the bullpen. So this simply is just a terrible decision by Alex Cora, and it ends up costing them the series. In Game 3, Connolly Early did his thing, but guys, Cam Schlittler, give this guy a plaque, a statue, I don't care. The guy struck out 12 with no walks in his first postseason debut and single-handedly shut down the Boston offense. So real quick, just everyone bow down to the Schlitty, okay? All I know is this Yankees team looks scary, guys. The emergence of Cam Schlittler, the bullpen is there, the offense we already know has depth. This team could very easily be better than last year's team without Juan Soto and with Garrett Cole on the bench. So if I'm the rest of the AL and MLB, I'd be scared. And that takes us through the wild card round of the playoffs, and now we get to look forward to some crazy matchups in the AL and NL divisional rounds. Guys, the Dodgers versus Phillies matchup is going to be incredible baseball, okay? But before we get to that, let's talk about the Tigers and Mariners, okay? Think about this for a second. Guys, the Tigers aren't done yet. Like their manager will remind you, their first win of the season came against Seattle, and they're now going to face the Mariners in the ALDS. And this matchup is fascinating. The Mariners finished 90-72, won the AL West for the first time since 2001, and they've been waiting with the first round bye. Game 1 is Saturday at T-Mobile Park, and the Mariners are scary. Like, legitimately, they are one of the most complete teams left in the playoffs. Cal Raleigh just hit 60 home runs, becoming just the 7th player in baseball history to reach that milestone, which is insane. He's an MVP candidate. My vote goes to Judge, but I'll just keep that to the side. Anyways, Julio Rodriguez has been on an absolute tear since mid-July, hitting 21 homers in that stretch, and they picked up guys like Josh Naylor and Dominic Canzone at the deadline who have been mashing. But the offense isn't even the scariest part. Seattle led the majors in runs scored, home runs, and WRC plus in September. They were second in OPS. They won 17 of 18 games to close out the season. This team is peaking at exactly the right time. And their pitching? Luis Castillo had a 1.07 ERA over his last 4 starts. Logan Gilbert allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in all of his 5 September outings. George Kirby was striking out double-digit batters. This rotation is locked in. But here's where it gets interesting. The Tigers went 2-4 against the Mariners this season, but 2 of those wins came when it mattered most. In July, Detroit went into Seattle and got swept in 3 games, with Skubal taking the loss in his only home loss all season. The Mariners outscored them 35-14 in that series. And Skubal, well, he struggled against Seattle this year, 5.91 ERA. Now, we did just watch him dominate a good Guardians lineup with 14 strikeouts in Game 1. So we do know postseason Skubal is an animal, and he will likely start Game 2 in Seattle and potentially a decisive Game 5 back at T-Mobile Park on normal rest. Detroit having the ability to have Skubal pitch twice in this series definitely makes them dangerous for me, but there's also the rust factor that can work against the Mariners because, you know, in recent years, teams with the bye have struggled to flip the switch back on. And a fun fact, in 2023, none of the 4 bye teams made the World Series. Seattle has 5 days off, and while they're running scrimmages at T-Mobile Park to stay sharp, you never know how that layoff can affect you until the game actually starts. But that brings us to the next matchup, and probably my favorite, the most exciting matchup of the entire playoffs. The Dodgers are facing the Phillies, guys. This is must-watch TV. This is going to be insane. I cannot wait. The Phillies are the most complete team in baseball. The Dodgers, we already know. The Phillies, guys, they finished 96-66, 3 games better than the Dodgers. They won the NL East for the 2nd straight year. They've got a first round bye and a home field advantage. Game 1 is on Saturday, of course, in Philly. And when it comes down to it, Philly's bullpen is way better than the Dodgers. When it came to the regular season matchup, the Phils went 4-2 against the Dodgers. They've got the arms, they've got the bats, they've got Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, 2 of the best playoff performers of their generation, who have a combined, by the way, 38 postseason home runs together. They've got a rotation led by Christopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez, and Jesus Luzardo that can go deep into games. And they added Duran at the deadline, a closer who's tied for the most saves in baseball since August 1st with 16. And remember that bullpen problem that the Dodgers have? Well, the Phillies just watched both wildcard games. They saw that 8th inning in Game 1. They know that if they can just get to the Dodgers bullpen, they have a real chance of putting up some real runs. Now, the Dodgers counter is going to be the same strategy they use against the Reds. Ride their 6-man rotation depth. Snell showed he can go 7 innings. Yamamoto should be able to give them 6 or 7. Kershaw can go long. Hopefully even Ohtani can go a full 6 or 7 innings. But the real question is, can they actually pull that off against a Phillies lineup that's way better than the Reds? A Phillies team that has home field advantage and is well rested after their bye week. The same question goes for the Cubs as they face off against the National League best Milwaukee Brewers. The NLDS starts on Saturday as well, with the Cubs traveling up I-94 to face the Milwaukee Brewers. And this is about to get spicy because the Brewers won the National League Central, clinched the #1 seed in the playoffs, and set a franchise record with 97 regular season wins. The Brewers enter the playoffs with the best record in baseball. They finished in the top 3 in both scoring and preventing runs, so they do look like a complete team, even though nobody wants to give them the respect respect that they maybe deserve because they don't have the big names or they don't spend a lot of money. And the cool thing about this matchup is that the Cubs and Brewers have actually never faced each other in the postseason. So the 2025 NLDS series here is going to be an absolute first. Now, if you had to ask me where am I putting my money on, I'm going to go with the Cubs here. I know we all like to count out the Brewers, but I just really like Cub baseball. I think they're a way better team than their record shows. I'm just not so sure that their pitching will hold up against the Brewers. You know, I just don't know how to explain it. Like, it feels like the Brewers get the clutch hits or strikeouts whenever they need it. So we'll see. I mean, guys, between the Cubbies and Brewers series, Dodgers and Phillies series, those are easy 7-game series toss-ups that we don't know which way they're going to go. This is going to be amazing playoff baseball. I cannot wait to watch. I'll be honest, as a Yankee fan playing the Blue Jays, it's going to be easy. We're going to sweep them. Okay, we'll give you guys one game. 4-1, maybe. We'll see. But to be fair and honest, the Blue Jays did win the East. They do have a great lineup, especially with Bo Bichette coming back, George Springer, Vladdy Jr. But I just think the Yankees lineup is better. And while the Blue Jays do have a great rotation of Kevin Gausman, Chris Bassett, and Jose Barrios, I mean, you put that up with the Yankees with Rodon and Fried, and now you got Schlittler, and the Yankees also obviously have a stacked bullpen. It's gonna be a fight. So while I am biased in saying that we're gonna win this series 4-1, the Blue Jays obviously have a great chance, and this could be a series that goes 6 or 7 as well. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Is there a pitching matchup you're most excited for? What's your prediction for who's gonna win each series? And let me know if I missed anything else in the comments below. Besides for that, that's all for today. I'll see you guys on the next one.